Hello again. Tonight we're going to talk about vision and aging amateur astronomers. So, as we get older, there are things that affect our ability to look at the night sky, look at an eyepiece, and once you get to I guess it's late 60s and onward, these kind of things start to show up and hamper your lifestyle. And so sometimes you have to deal with them. And I'm dealing with one of them right now. So I've been wearing glasses since I was in second grade. And back then it was glass, no polycarbonate plastic for you. I wore, as the saying goes, Coke bottles.
I
I
know.
had big, thick, round glass lenses. Um, when I started to like get fuzzy on my near vision, I had to explain to the eye doctor, what was happening. He says, "You're too young for that." At 40, I says, "You're too young for bifocals." I said, "Why don't you test me?" So he tested me. He says, "You need bifocals." And he introduced me to these new things called progressives. And it was essentially three prescriptions that were ground as a step in the glass. And you looked distant out the top, and then you look close up through the bottom, like bifocals. And then in the middle was sort of mid range vision. And there was a distinct line between them. And over the years, the technology got better, and I now wear progressives. So it's just a continuous ground curve, and I get bigger lenses, so I don't have that like parallax problem. But I'll be 72 in January of next year, and I had a full, surgical eye exam about 2 years ago when I got glasses, and I used the computer on, many hours per day. Near vision was still fine. Distance vision started to get fuzzy. So I said, well, it's time to get new glasses. Historically, this is how I've judged when it's time to get new glasses is the current prescription doesn't work as well as it used to, and I notice it. So I went and got my eyes examined, and she said, this may be the last pair of glasses I ever own. I said, why is that? Cataracts. Okay. She was making the presumption I was going to get these multifocal cataract lenses where you can see near and you can see far, and you kind of mentally adjust for what the middle is.
Not good. No.
Yeah, yeah. And I explained to her that I was an amateur optical astronomer, and she said, well, maybe you will need glasses, because she understood the issues associated with these types of lenses. Maybe you will need glasses, because she knew what my value was of seeing things at night. So what it has to do with is two things: bright sources of light and internal reflections on the artificial lens. So this is what happens to us as we get old. For all you young people out there that eventually watch this YouTube video, this is what happens. Things will get dimmer, fuzzier, and you'll get these things called floaters. And if you don't
Mm.
know what all that is, look them up on the internet. Um, but that's just normal stuff that happens as you age. But then there's another couple of transitions. The gel that's inside your eyeball tends to get a little harder as you get to about 50 plus. If when it hardens, it sticks to your retina, you'll actually see like, what was that? And you'll get like a bright flash as it sticks to your retina and then pops off. It causes your eye and your brain to sense a really bright flash. And as a result, it kind of like tears a bit at your retina, and you get more floaters, more scar tissue from that. If when it pulls away from your retina, it actually damages your cones in your retina, you can get basically little tiny dark spots, black spots, and those move as you look. Now, when you have floaters and you look, the floaters kind of lag behind a little bit because they're inside the liquid of your eye. But since those spots on the retina are part of your retina, when you look over here, like it moves with them. But the magical thing about brain is during the vision processing, if you're looking at something and you just started looking at it, you might notice a couple of black spots. But as you continue to look at it, the black spots disappear because your brain fills in that little area where it couldn't see with what it could see. It's amazing.
Hmm.
But if the humor is actually sticks onto your retina, it can peel your retina away which, if you suffer from diabetes and things like that, that retinal detachment's a pretty serious thing and can lead to one of the other things that are coming up called macular degeneration. But if you're getting past the dimmer, fuzzier, and floaters, the next step is cataracts. They think it's based upon diet, upon consuming too many things that are oxidizing as opposed to antioxidizing in your diet, and therefore you build up essentially fibrous material inside the lens of your eye, but they're microscopic. So when you're 30 or 40, you won't even notice them. But as they start to accumulate, as you get around 70, things will start to appear differently. But if you run into some serious problems, there's glaucoma and macular degeneration, which, yeah, you can look those up, but I'm not going to discuss them here. My father had, name it all. He had all of these. Now, here's your grain of salt about tonight's presentation. I'm not a vision healthcare professional, no doctor here, no medical training in ophthalmology or any of that stuff. I'm just passing along kind of tidbits of what I've learned, not to scare anyone, but if they feel that they're starting to suffer from these things, talk to a professional. There's lots of different choices out there depending upon what your issues are as to what they can do. It's nowhere near as bad as it was 30 years ago when my father started to have problems, and literally they used a laser to weld his retina back onto the back of his eye and cause internal bleeding inside of his eye, which that led to him going legally blind in one eye. But I like that phrase, first do no harm. But if you've already got a problem, what is it that you can do that will alleviate the problem that won't do harm? It's kind of like LASIK surgery. A lot of people get LASIK surgery to correct vision prescriptions. They don't need to wear glasses, but some small percentage of those people, it doesn't work out. It doesn't come away right. They might get an infection. They might develop scar tissue, all kinds of little side effects, but they're low single-digit percentage issues kind of thing, but they still do it. Seek advice from professionals. I'm not a professional. So let's say you're getting cataracts. Seek professional advice. Always the first line of defense is seek professional advice. But they've created these things called interocular lenses. They go in and they surgically remove your normal lens from your eye, and then they put in this manufactured lens. And it's a very high-tech, near nanoscale shaped lens. And it's got basically springs on the side of it made out of the lens material that make it self-aligning in the center of your eye. There's three basic types. There's a monofocal, which means if you put it in and you get distance only, then you need glasses for mid and near. There's multifocal, which essentially is two different steps on the lens. So there's a part of the lens where you can see distance, and then there's another part of the lens where you can see near. And depending upon what part of the lens you're essentially observing through, you can get two different steps there, in which case you might not need glasses. And then there's specialty, there's exotic materials, exotic shapes. They're trying new stuff all the time. I saw there's a new one coming out next year. They're obviously, every time they come out with one, it's supposed to be better than sliced bread, the best thing that's ever happened to interocular lenses. And then you start asking questions about, tell me about glare. Tell me about night halos. Well, yeah. Okay, let's go back to the other models because I'm an amateur optical astronomer. So when I was going to my ophthalmologist, which is an eye surgeon last time, he said, take some nutritional supplements. You might see some like Bosch and Loam prescription stuff, but it's just things that you can get through either food or other supplements for far less money, but you ingest it rather than putting drops in your eye. I think it did slow the progression because he told me that about 2 years ago. And now it's like, well, I need to get eyeglasses, and maybe it's time in 2025 to consider interocular lenses. But I did notice that there is actually a research effort in essentially drops that you put in your eye that will, over time, dissolve the fibers in your lenses and basically dissolve the cataracts. They've had promising trials in animals, usually dogs, but not ready for human trials yet. Shucks. Because if it's promising in dogs, a lot of eye care treatment stuff goes through dogs first. And if it works for them, they'll start trialing it in humans. But good trials with animals, not ready for humans yet. So I missed the window. There's lots of intraocular lenses. You can get near, far, both sort of glare. Think of it this way. When you have your normal human tissue lens in your eye and you get light coming in, the light is either going to go through the lens or get absorbed by the lens tissue. When you have a piece of plastic in there, or back in the early days, a piece of glass, when you have a piece of polycarbonate plastic in there, the light can actually bounce around off the plastic. And when it bounces around and goes back into your eye, you have a delayed glow. And if the light is bright enough, like headlights, car headlights, as they're getting brighter and brighter, then you're going to get glare halos, and you're going to get what amounts to, it's just so bright you can't look at it because of the internal reflections. So as an optical astronomer, I'm very concerned about night halos and night glare, and I don't mind, winding up having to have, okay, I'll get the lens just for distance, but then for my close up, like looking in the eyepiece, I don't mind wearing glasses if I have to. Given the popularity of these intraocular lenses, there's a lot of eye surgeons out there just waiting to replace your lens, and with the lens that they pick for you, and see if you're covered, how much it covers, whether it covers just the surgery or it covers the surgery and the lens itself. And if it covers the lens, what kind of lens? The premium lenses or the bargain basement lenses? And you have to, think all that stuff out. So have to think about constraints during post-op, because you can't do anything strenuous for, I think it's about a week. You can't look down for 3 days afterwards because it puts pressure on the sutures. So there's a lot of things you have to pay attention to just after the surgery. And then I thought, do I do one eye or both at the same time? And I live alone, and I'm not planning on having in-home recovery care. And I have access to an Uber account. So while I'm recovering, I can, get a ride from Uber. So I'm probably going to do one eye at a time, starting with my less dominant eye. I'm left-handed, so my less dominant eye would be my left eye, because your brain crosses the circuits. It may take longer to do it that way, but if there's any side effects, it'll be on my less dominant eye first. And we'll get to see how well did that work out before we go to the other one. And the concept of putting different prescriptions, like near in one eye and far in the other, some people say they can't deal with progressives because they don't know where to look. I took to progressives almost immediately. I had no problem with them because I only needed one pair of glasses and I could see anything. I think I'll go with the distance and then put glasses on if I need them for close up. Like I said, driving at night, maybe I'll be able to do that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I also know I do astronomy at night. So in the future, my astronomical observing may be constrained to, I get a smart telescope and look, there it is on the TV screen, because I'll no longer be able to see things clearly enough and, with enough brightness and contrast, look through an eyepiece. That's sad. Or I can do, solar observing in the daytime, or radio astronomy. Radio astronomy, you never have to look through an eyepiece. It's hell to get old, but it's better than the alternative. So in summary, cataracts are a thing that happens as humans age. Current solution is lens replacement surgery. Maybe there'll be a prescriptive solution in the future. Too far in the future for me now, so lots of decisions to make in 2025. I don't have a lot of links tonight, but the basics. And I wanted to get as close to professional opinions as I could. The AAO is a group of optical professionals, eye doctors. And so I wanted their input on interocular implants, and then Cleveland Clinic's take on it. And there's somewhat in alignment. There's some newer stuff at one versus the other. If you're going to wind up in the same boat as I am currently, then information. Always helpful. Okay. Comments, questions, personal health stories.
I just went to uh, my doctor. I go to three different doctors, one for the glasses and then one for the back of the eye. I had a retinal detachment. Thank you. Looking into overhead projectors at school.
Yeah.
And so I had a cataract for that because they either fill up your eye with a gas or a liquid, which destroys your lens.
Yeah.
And then you have to have the cataract surgery. So I've got one eye that has cataract surgery. I've got one that's starting, but it's not bad enough to have the surgery yet. So we're keeping an eye on that part and the expression. And then the other thing is glaucoma. Now, glaucoma, they've got some new drops out for that, including one that is supposed to help with Alzheimer's, to help prevent Alzheimer's. So that's interesting. But the pressure on the inside of your eye can extend to the back of the eye where the optic nerve comes in. And if that makes a little dent in the back of the eye where that optic nerve is, you've got a serious problem with the glaucoma.
Yep.
I've got the pressure right now, but I don't have the dent in the back of the optic nerve. So, I have to go in about every 6 months for checkups on the retinal, the doctor that did the surgery in the back of the eye, and then for the one that did the cataract surgery. They're two different doctors.
Yeah, my father had to go into the eye doctor, and he went to an ophthalmic surgeon, the same one that I had gone to. He'd go about every 6 months, and yeah.
So they said that once you get the cataract surgery, say in both eyes, and you've got a choice, do you want to wear glasses for near distance, or do you want to wear glasses for far distance? So you have to set up your contact lenses for one situation or the other. And that's what you got to live with.
Well, nowadays they have what they call multifocal lenses, and it's essentially two lens focuses in one lens. And I don't know how it actually separates things out, but they claim that you can see distance. So you can get a multifocal that is good for driving and also good for like computer or needlework kind of stuff.
Yeah, I find that I have a tendency to close one eye and drive with the other eye, which is the one that had the cataract replacement lens in it. So at night.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind having to wear glasses for close up and just getting the interocular replacement for distance only. Distance only is in optics. Distance only is to infinity kind of thing. If you want something that's closer, let's say 4 feet or closer, you have multiple stages of focal length. Once you get out to a certain distance, it can be, 20 feet to infinity, and there's no big difference. So I'll get distance lenses, and that supposedly will reduce the night halos and glare. And then for close up, I'll have to wear glasses. But been wearing glasses since second grade, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, since I was 2.
Yeah, and I never went with contact lenses. Back when they were first offered, like, you want me to put a piece of glass in my eye knowingly? This is before they became plastic, which was hard plastic, and then soft plastic, and now breathable soft plastic. Basically, moisture porous soft plastic. Now, I'm sorry, I got used to not having to, because I saw too many horror shows about people that would be so comfortable with them, they would leave them in their eye for a few weeks longer than they should. And what happens
wow.
Your cornea wants to get oxygen in behind the plastic, and it develops little like veins in the outer edge of your eye
Oh,
that allows the tissue to breathe around the plastic. And it can even basically leach into the plastic. And then the lenses have the contact lenses have to be surgically removed. Like, I don't want that.
what a
I'm
nightmare.
happy with the glasses.
I too.
And the
I opted for the same thing like you. I did the same thing.
yeah. And the other one was I don't want to put one contact in one eye and a different prescription in the other eye, and then close which eye if I want to see near or far.
Oh no.
I don't mind looking up and down like this to see near and far. Or sometimes you'll see me do that, and I'm using the wrong prescription for the wrong thing. Or I'll do that, and I can see over the top of them with no prescription.
Right.
So I have that flexibility. I've often thought as someone who has studied physics and optics and things like that, if there were a way to bounce an infrared laser, a very low power one, off of the surface of your eye where the light goes in, you could then use that as a tension measurement to know whether your iris and your lens are trying to, close down, open up, or focus out or focus near. And if that's the case, you could dynamically, by putting a coating on just some polycarbonate, no prescription lenses, you could dynamically, with a computer chip in the glasses frame, change the focal length of the glasses themselves in real time to match what you want to look at. So if you think about looking distance, it would notice the difference in tension on your eye and change the focal length of the glasses. And then if you started looking local again, you would see that the pressure changes and it would adjust dynamically. And this is something called nonlinear optics. The Air Force pioneered this stuff 20 years ago, where they can put a coating of lithium niobate on a lens, and then you pass a somewhat high voltage at an extremely low current through the material, and it changes the index of refraction of the material on the fly. So if you have a computer chip and you have the sensing of the tension on the eye, and then you run that back through the computer to change the voltage on the surface coating of the lenses, you could dynamically adjust the focus of the lens. But I don't think anybody that's a professional in the business would want that, because all those eyeglass stores would suddenly like, I sold you one for life. There's not a lot of long-term money in that. So
But there's also two other issues you got to look at. Sometimes you have the issue of dry eye following a surgery, and one more was migraines. Vision can actually cause migraines.
Yep. I saw a little bit about the migraines, but I didn't know if they were psychosomatic from you feeling it and like it creating stress and you getting a migraine from that stress, or whether it was actually affecting your circulatory of the tissues around the outside of your skull, which is usually how you get a migraine. Any comments or questions before I stop recording?
No.